All right. Welcome. I'm Jennifer Maher with Tech Force Foundation. We are a nonprofit that helps to drive the next generation of technicians into this industry. And I think we can all agree there's a shortage going on right now. We're having difficulty attracting young people into the skilled trades in this industry. The reality is we need about 130,000 new techs every single year coming into this business for collision auto and diesel. And yet the schools, they're only graduating 57,000. That's why so many businesses are having trouble recruiting and hiring and finding qualified techs. So we've got Chip, Bogi, and Jonathan here today to talk about the shortage and what we should be doing as an industry and fans to help really drive the next generation of technicians. So let me start, Bogi. What have you been doing to help solve the technician shortage challenge?
My goodness. So I think there's not like a magic pill or a magic fix to this issue. It's very complex, but I think anything that we can do to put a positive image out there about the industry and about the trades, because I think we still suffer from a bad reputation, and parents aren't necessarily excited about their kids going and becoming technicians unless they're in the industry. Guidance counselors aren't encouraging their kids into the industry. They're canceling trade programs all over the country. And so whatever we can do to start changing that perception within our own businesses and how we project ourselves out on social media is, I think, a really important start.
And Jonathan, what do you think is causing this challenge?
Causing the challenge, I believe,
Maybe not that
yeah, just the fact of getting them out, getting them to car shows, stuff like that, staying at home on the computers and stuff like that, I think is good, and you learn a lot, but it's not getting them out of the house and getting them to play with cars or getting involved with things that are going on outside with the hot rod industry or anything like that.
That's right. We find that the kids actually lack a lot of experiences, not being able to come to a SEMA show or be able to engage with it.
Exactly. I mean, just get out and let's play with some cars and stuff like that. And the computers are a big thing, but I think we need to kind of step back and look at how these cars keep going and get hands-on with everything.
Absolutely. Chip, what do you think about it?
Well, in my mind, it starts with the government, and I think the biggest crime in America is when the government stopped funding schools, public schools, and we used to do electronics, we did wood, we did metal, you learned how to use your hands in school, starting in 7th grade. 7th, 8th, and in high school you had a bunch of classes, and they're all gone now. I remember when I was building my shop, I went to an equipment, a used equipment facility, trying to look for equipment to buy for my shop. And there was all these mills and lined up that all the mills were painted red, and there's lathes that were all painted green, and a bunch of different equipment. I said, what is all this from? And they said, well, we were hired to pull all the equipment out of the high schools in the local area. And I thought, wow, that is really a tragedy, because I know when I graduated from high school, the first thing you thought is, wow, I want to go build a '69 Camaro. And today when kids graduate, they think, I want my parents to buy me a new Camaro. They don't learn how to use their hands in school. If the government got involved and brought these programs back to the schools, they would know how to use their hands, and the ones that really enjoy it may follow into the industry.
Absolutely. And Bogi, talk to me a little bit about how, in addition to the government, how industry could maybe get involved in helping to bring back auto shops in high schools, et cetera.
I mean, I know when my high school auto shop program was canceled, or they were threatening to cancel it, it was concerned citizens that kept them from canceling it initially. Eventually, they cut it anyway. But by getting yourself involved in the school board, getting yourself involved in the local neighborhood associations, school associations, and even your local trade programs, because there are a number of great trade programs out there, even in high schools, that are still struggling to hang on, and they need help, they need support, and they need us as just average citizens or people who own shops or who are active in shops. They need help from all of us to stay relevant, because it is, I agree with you 100%. Like, it's not that kids aren't interested in cars, they're just not getting exposed to it. And so if they're not getting exposed to it, they don't know about it, they don't know if they're gonna fall in love with it, they don't know if they wanna start a profession in it. So we just need to do everything we can to keep these programs going and reaching out ourselves.
Right. And so it's really about getting involved, giving them experiences and exposing kids to automotive. So give us some examples of things that you each personally do about getting involved or showing up with the youth or bringing them to shows or being a mentor. How do you actually do it?
What we have done is teamed up with Good Guys, and we do a Young Guys program. So at every Young Guy or every Good Guys car show, we have a special parking area for 25 and under to bring their hot rods out, show off what they've got, where they're at. They could be a car and primer. It could be something that they're in the mix of working on. We just want to get them involved, get them out there, let them compete against each other, whether it's a shiny car, primered car, it's still got filler on it, whatever. It just gets them involved, gets them out there, keeps them to where, they can win awards. They keep on moving up to where, like, hey, next year if I get my car painted, I can go try it again. So it keeps them motivated each time.
What I was trying to do is work with not only the car show industry, but also Good Guys, and get some of the companies that work with SEMA involved, because the young guys that are building these cars, the problem is they don't have deep pockets to build the most beautiful car that they're dreaming of themselves. But if you can get involved, and maybe at the end of the year, all these guys that have won the Young Guns Awards, maybe there's a competition that we pick one, and all these SEMA companies come in, and we donate paint to them. We donate, maybe it's a body in white that somebody is reproducing. It's a chassis, but give him the parts that he can build his dream car. All he has to supply is the labor himself. And if he drives that to school and his other buddies see it, and they say, well, how'd you get this car? And he says, well, you remember that 65 squareback Volkswagen that I built? I won all this because they liked my car best. And then his friends are going to say, well, I could do that better than you. And maybe they'll get involved.
I have done a couple of things. One, I've been involved in the Tech Force Foundation. I've been very heavily involved in Women in Industry Network, just kind of doing anything that I can to be involved in different organizations that are supporting bringing new people in, doing scholarships for young kids coming in. At my shop personally, I do an apprenticeship program. So kids just coming out of school or who have an interest in exploring the trades can get a chance to get some actual experience. Because that's, I think, one of the challenges too. Once we've attracted someone to the industry, nobody likes hiring someone with no experience. And how do you get experience if no one will give you any experience? So kind of creating those mentorship opportunities. And at my personal warehouse at Bogi's Garage, we have entry-level classes in paint and body, in metal fabrication, in welding, in mechanical, just to give people that entry point, that exposure. Because again, if you've never been exposed to it, how do you know if you're interested in it? So giving folks a chance, specifically women, to bring more women into the industry.
Absolutely. We know we're not going to solve the technician shortage if we don't start talking to half the population and welcoming them into the industry. What other things like that does industry need to start doing more of, stop doing, or continue? What would you say we need to do as an industry?
What if we do a road show, we tour around the country and we do high school car shows and talk to the kids, that come out just to look at the cars that we built?
Agree wholeheartedly.
Hey,
Will you join us?
It's exposure. I'd join you.
Awesome.
My car, your car, Goolsby's car, we go on the road.
Oh, that'd be a good time. It actually shows them, hey, look at this car. They get to look at it, see what all we've done to it, and see how enjoyable it is to be able to just play with cars, and get out and have a good time.
And they need to see and feel and touch the cars instead of just looking at them from a distance.
And you bring a lot of different builders out and people from the shop, not just the shop owner, but the employees there, and talk about what drew us to the industry and why we got involved. Yeah. And the other thing, maybe everybody that owns a shop, they can have more kids and train them how to do it.
Well, and for those of you who aren't, sitting up here and have the celebrity status of these guys, all of us can do something to be involved and to help get more kids into the industry. And whether it's getting involved in your local school system, whether it's taking a car that you have out and bringing it to a high school and letting them see it and touch it and feel it and understand how STEM actually applies in real life and how math and science and physics and all that actually applies in automotive. There's so many things that you can do. If you own a shop, make an apprenticeship program. Make sure you're opening up to young kids coming in and making that entry point easier into the industry. There's so much that we can all do individually.
The other thing I think would be cool is if Fridays here at SEMA, you could bring a kid to SEMA.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be a great idea.
Amen.
Yeah.
Bogi, talk a little bit about Future Tech Tuesday. It's another way the industry could promote social media and just kind of buzz.
Yeah, so Tech Force Foundation, which Jennifer is the head of, is doing a tremendous amount for technicians and future technicians. So they've got a little campaign going called Future Tech Tuesday, just highlighting future technicians and really creating and putting out a good message and good image of technicians and the industry as a whole. So you can hashtag that, show us pictures, share pictures of your future technicians, young kids. I know a lot of you have little kids that come out into the shop and work with you, so share pictures and help encourage the future techs.
Yeah, one more thing I would like to add, and it's something that I was very aware of when we first started overhauling. The network came in and asked me if I could do a couple things that are totally not me. Throw wrenches at people and try to create drama. And I told them, I said, look, I want to portray this industry as a profession. I want to show professionals coming together, having a great time doing something special for somebody that is deserving. I said, I don't know if we're going to do 2 shows or we're going to do 5,000 shows, but in the end, I want people to just know who I am and who they're going to be working with. And I think that the industry should be represented as professionals together. You watch any cooking show, and they're all dressed to the nines. They have an absolutely beautiful kitchen. I think it's necessary, or it's important to show a clean shop that looks professional in the industry. And a lot of times that's not the way it is. They're showing guys that are in fights and arguments and this and that and trying to create drama. And to me, I think that distracts from what we're trying to portray.
So we
as a
need to raise
profession.
our own bar.
As a profession, exactly.
Absolutely.
100%. I agree with you completely. If we want society to respect the trades and put funding into the trades and have the government back trade programs in our high schools again and have parents and guidance counselors be excited about their kids getting into this industry, then we need to present ourselves to the world the way that we want to be treated, and sometimes we don't, and we definitely need to raise the bar. I agree.
The big thing is, remember when we was in school, field trips were big. So, I mean, why not have, all these shop owners open up their shops, bring in the kids and have a field trip, That's, and that way they can get in, see how shops are, see all the tools, and actually kind of like a hands-on deal, just for a quick day.
The reality of what shops are now, right? Not what you see on TV necessarily, and not what the stereotype is from generations ago, but what they really are like now.
Well, we find at Tech Force that a lot of the reasons that students don't pursue the career path is because they look at their parent and they say, I think I want to work on cars. And the parent says, what do you want to do that for? And so the kid pivots and we lose them early. So, Chip, you're exactly right. How are we portraying the image of the industry and helping them understand that you can make really good money in this business? Yes. You can have incredible passion. I mean, talk to me a little bit about the rewards of being in this industry. I mean, you guys are kind of celebs now, but you have a real passion that gets fed every day.
Well, I've always said that I feel lucky and blessed that I get to do, make a living doing something that's 100% unnecessary. The world doesn't need another hot rod. But the greatest thing about it is it's 100% passion driven, that we have customers that are willing to reach in their pocket and pay us good money to build their automotive dreams. It is a dream job for me. I feel so lucky and blessed.
I absolutely love it. Working on cars, I've been doing it since I was 17 years old professionally, and there's nothing like the satisfaction of taking something and fixing it, building it, making it with your own hands, and it's just an amazing thing. And I know that I experienced with my family when I first announced that I wanted to become a mechanic. It was not too positive. Let's just say that. My family wasn't really excited about it, and it took a lot to prove to them that this career path was a valid one and a fantastic one, and that I could create a great life for myself out of it. And of course, my family is super proud of me, but it's taken a while to get there. So yeah, I think there's definitely something to that.
I agree with Chip. I mean, it's kind of like a dream come true. You get to actually get paid to play with these hot rods. You get them, you build them. They pay you. You get to haul them around. You get to drive them and everything. So I mean, how can it be any better? They're paying you, and you get to do all the fun part about it.
Exactly. I was lucky that my father was in the industry, so I grew up in it. Started working at his shop at the age of 7. I'd like to say I was helping him, but I think I destroyed a lot more than I actually helped in the beginning. I can't tell you how many wet paint jobs I walked and go, wow, that's pretty, oops, it's wet. And but the first thing I learned from my father is when you do mess up, you tell who you need to tell right away. So that, You know, you're not going to deliver a car to a customer and then the customer sees it first, you know. And that's my biggest frustration in my shop is when something does happen and nobody tells me. I want to know about it right away, but I was lucky that I was born into it, and I know it's extremely difficult to find good help that want to do this. You know, everybody wants to sit behind a desk anymore and have a real easy, you know, job that they're clean and they get to go home, but you know, this is a fun industry and you get to be creative. And I know that in the 70s when we had the gas crunch, my father's shop before that was strictly all custom work. And street rotting and custom cars almost died completely in the mid-70s there. And we switched to an auto body shop. And that's what I grew up in. And for me, it was also great training for, as a designer, knowing how shapes and forms transition from one shape to another and what those reflections should really look at. And when it came to being a designer, I knew a lot more than the other designers at Art Center that were trying to develop that knowledge. I learned by straightening panels out. It's a big benefit.
I agree. Like even the collision side of it, the parts that you can use on that and incorporate them into these new cars. You know, you learn a lot of tricks and trades off of the newer cars that you can incorporate to these old cars. And that's the thing, is everybody wants to be able to drive these cars, you know. So if you can put that modern technology into these and learn from the newer cars, it all ties together.
And they talk about in school how science and technology, engineering and math are so important, but that's automobiles, right?
Right.
So talk to me about how it relates.
In every way possible.
Yeah.
I mean, whether we're talking about the restoration side or collision side or mechanical side, I mean, it's math, it's science, it's computer skills, it's physics, it's, you know, why does your car dive down when your shocks are bad in the front? Like, I mean, it's all applied science and math, and you need to know all of this stuff. You're doing electrical diagnostics, following a wiring diagram. It's all applied.
Yeah, measurements, all the gaps. I mean, everything ties in together.
Yeah, and in every part of the industry.
And what you find is when you're building a car, all that math and everything becomes second nature because it's like a word problem. And when I was in high school, when it came to algebra, I was lost. This, you know, what is this letter and this number? And, you know, I didn't see what it is. But you could give me a word problem and I can follow it. And that's what a car is. It's just a little more complicated and a lot more fun.
Yeah.
So what should people listening, you know, what should they do to help solve this problem? What can they do? I mean, yes, they can volunteer. And again, Tech Force, you can go on to futuretechsuccess.org and you can raise your hand and we'll plug you in. We'll help you volunteer in your community. If you've got training aids to donate, you can go on to the website and raise your hand and we'll get it to a school in need. But it really does take the people power and the industry caring and us really rallying together.
It is, and I believe even just getting out, even calling shops, you know, and just say, hey, we're interested, my kids are interested in this, and it could just be anybody, and the shops are going to open up just to bring them in to kind of to help better the future, and hopefully that one person will actually, you know, get something out of it, and they'll want to, progress in the future with that, you know.
It starts with the fires in our own backyard, how we present ourselves to the world, to the community, taking any time you have to volunteer to go out to trade programs and talking to the students and getting them excited. Go talk to guidance counselors in your local public high school. They need your help. They need to hear from you that this industry has great opportunities for their kids because they might not know. And it's up to us. We can make that difference. Just going and paying a visit and spending some time.
I think SEMA could get involved also because SEMA is very involved with the government, and possibly, I mean, it would be a dream come true for me to see programs brought in back into the public school system.
So talk about a little bit about what you hope for this next generation, the skills that they would have, the things that they would be able to bring to the table. So many people think it's just tactile, taking things apart, putting them back together. But you said it earlier, it's problem solving.
Critical thinking. Critical thinking is number one, and caring. Like I know I come from a kind of slightly different side than you guys do, but I'm sure it applies as well because I'm on the strictly mechanical side for the most part. I can teach you how to turn a wrench. I can't teach you how to care, and I can't teach you how to think critically. Like that has to be taught from a very young age, and so that's what I need from the young kids coming up. If you care, if you have a passion, if you're paying attention, you care about the customer. That's what I'm looking for. I can teach you how to turn a wrench. I can't teach you how to care.
When I'm looking for somebody to hire into the shop, I'm looking for somebody with passion. You can hire somebody with talent. If they don't have the passion, they're not going to be in at 110%. But people with passion, they're going to stay and they're going to learn and they're going to grow.
You're right, and the fact that they want to be able to do it. And it's just not the paint body, it's not mechanics, it's even people in the office that we need. You know, people to run social media, that's gotten so big, you know. People that, you know, doesn't want to do fab work or they want to be part of it, is office work is a big thing too. It's a full team effort on just being able to keep a shop running, and all areas need to be touched.
A lot of moms sometimes say, I don't want my daughter to go into this career. Why is that just not accurate? What are the upsides, Bogi, of being a female in this industry?
I'm a big proponent of diversity in the workplace. I think it's a stronger shop when you have diversity. And women bring something different to the table. And sure, I don't have the same upper body strength, but I've got other skills that complement the skills of my male colleagues. And so I think there's a lot for shops to have both male and female employees because they bring different things to the table. As a woman professionally, I mean, it's just been wonderful for me. My parents were not excited about it, like I said, and a lot of people did not think that I should be a technician as a female, that it wasn't a place for women. It's too heavy, it's too dirty, it's too whatever. But the industry's changed a whole lot, and there really isn't anything that is too heavy for a woman to do. I mean, we have tools for these things, right? I remember an employer asking me how I dealt with heavy things like transmissions. I'm like, I use a transmission jack like everybody else. I don't know what the problem is. So it's been a very, very rewarding career, and I think it's a great career for anybody. And the thing to think about, too, is it's not just technicians, right? We need technicians, we need office people, like you said, but there's also wholesalers and distributors and manufacturers and designers and engineers, and the industry needs everybody, and there's so many different ways to be a part of the automotive industry, and it's a phenomenal industry, and people need to know that. They just don't know that out there. We need to get the word out.
I enjoy the fact that when we do the young guys deal and you go out there and you have, if you got 10 cars, 5 of them are actually young women that have got their cars out there. And it's pretty interesting to see how they grew up in it, and it's the same situation that we grew up in. So there's really no difference between the younger women or the younger guys and all that. It's just the fact, it's neat that they're actually involved in the program too.
Well, your car here in the booth was built for a woman.
Yes.
Tell that story.
Yeah, she actually bought this car new. And she's had it since '74, and or when it was '74, and then she's drag raced it, with her husband and everything, and it's a piece of her history that she wants to keep, and the fact of building it for a woman is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, and in fact, I do a lot of cars. Most of our customers are men, but the interesting thing is when I get to know these people, it's a long process. You might be building a car for longer than a year. What I like to do is get to know their wives and get to know their tastes as well. Because a lot of times I'm actually designing the aesthetics of the car for her. And what my ultimate goal is I want her to fall in love with the car as well as him. And if she falls in love with it, she's going to want to share that project with him and go to the shows with him and give them something to do together. So it's not just a man's industry.
That's that happy wife, happy life syndrome there.
Well, it was interesting because last year, for those of you who know, we partnered with BASF for the Chevy Montage build, which was an all-female build. And we were overwhelmed by the amount of response that we got from women who weren't experienced in automotive at all and were just excited to have an opportunity because they hadn't been exposed to it. If you don't have a family member who's involved in cars, like when does the average woman get a chance to, pick up a plasma cutter or a welder and see if it's something that they like doing? So just creating that opportunity, there were so many women who wanted to be involved in it, so much so that we're partnering with BASF again to do another one. But there's just so many women who want in the industry and haven't been given that opportunity.
And we talked a little bit about the schools and the education system these days, and my fear is so much of it is sit still, don't touch, don't move, and yet, kids who learn with their hands and love to touch and experience, who are our future techs, they're not getting those experiences in the school. Like you said, Chip, they've cut all of these classes, and it's much more around the science and math. So what are the challenges that we're sending young kids when we don't give them those experiences to get their hands on? And, just kind of what's your wish for the future?
Well, my wish is that either it's brought back into the public school system, or maybe there's some type of a club that we could create that kids could go to after school and learn some of these, and it's not just automotive, it's electronics, it's, everything where, heater and AC, it's guys that use their hands, construction work, that's the people that we're losing, because the students aren't learning how to use their hands unless they're in a family with somebody that does that in the family and they're helping them on the weekends or whatnot. But we need to train kids how to use their hands again.
My wish for society is that we wake up and realize that there is not just one path to success, and that we are setting our kids up for failure when we tell them that there's just a certain box that they have to fit in. And we need to value and appreciate and respect all the different types of knowledge that are out there and all of the different jobs and skill sets that we need in this country. And I think it's going to come to us to be a really pressing issue soon, because if this trade deficit continues, the rest of America is going to realize very quickly what happens when there's nobody to fix the cars that get you to work. What happens when there's nobody to fix the roads or fix the trucks that get the food from the farm to your grocery store. Like, this is a massive thing. We need all of the different people in our society to function, and we need to wake up and realize not every kid needs to go to college and sit behind a desk. Like, that's not the only path to success.
You're right. It's like a trickle effect. If one thing doesn't work, it just goes down the line, and then it's eventually gone. But to be able to even start from scratch, our schools, we almost need to educate our schools on what to teach our kids. It's not just like you said, the science and the math. Get in there, and we need to teach them how to better to make it through the industry what we need in the shops.
I will say that also, when these classes were in the public school system, there's boys and girls in those classes. And they both learned how to do that. Look at in World War II, Rosie the Riveter is the one that was putting all those vehicles together, sending them so that the guys could use them in the war. We depended on the women then, and we can depend on them now.
Awesome. Those are good wishes for the future. Well, I'd like to thank BASF for having this Facebook Live, and thanks for everybody coming out and listening to us. Have a good one.